Beyond the Ring, a podcast that covers all things in the stock show industry, from the informative to the insane, starring Ryan Rash.
Yes, I am a red flag, but the material is very high quality.
And Dale Hummel. Now on with the show.
Welcome to Beyond the Ring. This is Ryan Rash and only Ryan Rash, because Dale, once again, is off gallivanting around the world on vacation and just can't get it together to record a podcast. So, hello, everyone. This is Sunday, so again, this is going to be recording very early, and we've had some breaking news just within the last 5 minutes here. And so by the time y'all hear this on Friday, the world will be upside down, backwards, and changed. But again, with my judging schedule, and I've got a junior national this week, and God knows what all else, this was the only time that I could do this. But just in the last 5 minutes, Joe Biden has sent out a letter on X, and he is dropping out of the race of President of the United States. He did not say how they were going to find who is going to be the Democratic nominee, how it's going to be picked. He didn't endorse Kamala Harris for it. He just said that he is out. So, Slow Joe, Creepy Joe, Delusional Joe, Vegetable Joe is gone. This is going to be extremely interesting to see what they do now. It had been Obama and Pelosi and Schumer and 36. Those three really didn't say it themselves, but they had their staffs leak things saying that they thought Joe needed to step down. 36 congressmen at least said that he needed to go. 2 or 3 senators said he needed to go. I just think the pressure kept mounting and mounting and mounting. And finally, today, he said, "Bye, bitches. I'm gone." Looking at this right now, watching Fox as I'm talking to you, several of the people that they put up were Gretchen Whitmer, Kamala Harris, Shapiro, Pete Butt Plug, lots of people out there. There was some buzz and some on X yesterday that Hillary was considering a run. I think the problem that the Democrats have now, they've got Joe out, and that's great. I mean, okay. I don't know how this party that prides themselves on inclusion and diversity and wokeness and all the things, how they look at the first female and then the first black female, and she's actually black and Indian female vice president, and say, "We know you've been the vice president, but you don't get to be our candidate." Sorry. I don't know how that works. But I guess we're going to find out sometime in the next week how that works, because if they don't say she is the anointed one to run, I think it could get real sketchy and quite interesting on a variety of different levels. Their convention is still 3 weeks away, so maybe they have a mini primary. I don't know. There's going to be 9 million questions asked, answered, thrown around, thrown out. But the big headline is Joe be gone. So there's that. When we talked last week, the Republican National Convention had just started. I think the highlight of all that is even the liberal mainstream media people, CNN, MSNBC, all of them, every network said this, but multiple people on all the liberal networks said that the Republican National Convention was the most energetic, well-run, and best convention of any party that they had been to. There were several speakers throughout the week that killed it. Sarah Huckabee Sanders has to be one of my favorites of the week. Trump did a great job, and I think Trump's speech, while it was long, everybody that hates Trump is like, it was too long, and he didn't stay on script, and all this other bullshit. Trump is always long, and he never stays on script. So I don't know why y'all thought he was going to change. Now, he didn't. He almost was assassinated like 4 or 5 days before he gave this speech. Him talking about the assassination and his whole tone and his tenor, I thought that he was much more humble, heartfelt, much more just human in the world's eyes. I thought he did a great job. Could have been shorter, sure. But he humbly asked for people's vote. He called on unity. He said that winning president with only half the nation is not a win, that he wants to be the president for everybody. So I thought all of those things were good. His vice president pick, see, Dale's not on here, so I can say what the hell I want. I don't like him. I don't. I just don't. First-time senator that called Trump Hitler at one time. J.D. Vance is a well-known author and a businessman, and he's a senator from Ohio. I don't get a good feeling from him. I think there were way better picks. As I stated on here several times, I thought he needed to pick a woman or a minority. He didn't. He picked a white boy. And I just have a real bad feeling about him, and I'm not a fan. But I wasn't a fan of Pence anyway, either. So I would say that probably the worst thing that Trump has done is his pick in vice presidents. And maybe he'll surprise me. I don't think so. And I think it will, while they always vote for whoever's at the top of the ticket, and they're going to vote for Trump regardless, I do not think that he's going to do anything to help Trump in terms of winning, despite the fact that they say, he can help in Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin. I don't see it happening because you have to win over independents, and I don't think he's going to do that to win those states. So that's my thought. I'm not a Vance fan. I'm not down with Vance, but I am big on Trump, and I don't think it will. I don't think it's going to matter anyway, but I don't think it helped. So that is my take on the J.D. Vance, and I could say other things, but Dale's not here, and he would probably make Clifton rip this podcast off the air if I said what I really wanted to. But that's for another time. But the Republican National Convention, way, way good. Really, really impressed. And for those of you that didn't watch it, just go skim the highlights of Sarah Huckabee Sanders and Trump's speech. Thought it was good. Trump's already been at another rally. He didn't get shot at this time, so that's very positive. This is just crazy that Biden dropped out right now, literally 5 minutes before I started recording this. But it is a never just when you think that the pundits have it figured out and this is what's going to happen. Because this morning, Biden's campaign manager said that he is here. I mean, this morning, like hours ago, that he is in this to win it. He's here to stay. There's no changing his mind. He's doubled down. He's in the race to win it. And here we are at 2:10 Eastern time. And Joe says bye-bye. So, just crazy. I wonder what they blackmailed him with or bribed him with to get him to do it. But I bet it was something significant and something very, very substantial. Just crazy. Biden, literally. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot of other current events. So sorry. Dale's not here to rant and rave about China and Putin and God knows what else, or tell you about aliens. So it's going to be a very short current events period. That was it. We would like to thank, or not we, there is no we, he ain't here. I would like to thank Showfresh H2O for their sponsorship of this podcast each and every week. It is hot. It is the end of July, and your animals need to be hydrated, and there is no better product on the market, according to Mr. not here, Dale Hummel, then Show Fresh H2O. You can buy it at your local show supply trailer or at swampfox.com. So that is the best I can do for my water boy duties for the week. In terms of a BTRJLA sponsor, McCrew Equipment Company is proud to be the national cattle sponsor for the second year in a row, and a national sponsor for the third year in a row. McCrew Equipment is located in Seven Valleys, Pennsylvania, and is one of the largest used farm and industrial equipment dealers in the Northeast. Their weekly hybrid auctions allow for both in-person and virtual bidding. As a full-service auction company, they offer virtual sales, off-site sales, complete liquidations, inventory reductions, and estate sales. Let McGrew sell for you. We greatly appreciate McGrew Equipment Company. Greg and his family been big supporters of the BTRJLA, and they have had a heck of a good Junior Nationals run this year as a family. So thank you, McGrew Equipment, and congratulations on your multiple Junior National wins throughout the summer so far. Top 10 intermediate lambs in the BTRJLA this week. First place, Addison Zerbach, Oregon. Second place, Charlie Fender of Nevada. Third place, Alan Morris of California. Fourth place, Hadley Powell of Colorado. Fifth place is Sailor McCoy of Oregon. Sixth place is Piper Raymer of Washington. Next is Audrey Callens of California, followed by Tyan Kern of Nevada. Ninth is Ridge Jefferson of Utah, and 10th is Adele Simpson of Arizona. So that is your top 10 for this week. Since Dale's not here and I don't have to get him to approve anything, I can talk about whatever the hell I want to, and I could get him real worked up if he ever listened. But topic that I have wanted to do for a long time is the importance of volunteer and volunteerism in the livestock industry. And so title's going to be I Volunteer as Tribute. Some of you will get that reference, some of you won't. In just complete honesty and sincerity, volunteers are what make 99.9% of these shows happen and go down. And without them, we would be completely lost in a lot of different ways. And so the main note on this is I think that a lot of times we forget that volunteers are just that. They're not paid. They're not getting any monetary value. They are just there to support the kids and to support the livestock industry. And it's an absolutely thankless job. So before you chew out your next volunteer because you didn't like something at a show or it didn't go absolutely 120% as planned, take a deep breath and remember that they are just that. They are volunteers. And I know that they don't get thanked enough and it's a thankless job, but it is an important part of this deal. And I think this thing that I want to talk about is all the different roles that they have, but also to try to keep things transparent all the way through. You're never going to turn down a volunteer ever, because it takes a village to run these shows, no matter what size they are. But also, I think that the people that kind of manage the volunteers and also yourself as a volunteer, we might need to think about where we can best utilize these people and how they can serve the greatest good, not only in helping the livestock show, but also for themselves, because we've all got different talents and different abilities, and we can be utilized in a lot of different ways. We just got to find the right nick and the right spot for each of these people. Because the worst thing that happens is there's a volunteer up there and maybe they're not in their ideal role and something goes awry and they get screamed at and yelled at and cussed up a blue streak and they don't ever want to volunteer again. And then they tell that story about what happened to them at that show to other people. And they're like, well, hell, I ain't going to do that. Why would I want to subject myself to all that? So just going to go through several of the roles that I know volunteers play in a lot of different areas, regardless of species, regardless of the size or level of the show, and talk about what makes a good volunteer in those particular areas. I think probably the absolute worst job in the world is lining up classes. And the reason I say that is it is right before everybody, that animal goes in the ring, that kid and their whole little army of fitters, breeders, parents, friends, whatever, up there with them. Everybody's nervous. Everybody's on edge. And there is one person in charge of getting everybody to the ring, lined up and ready to go in the classes. And nobody is paying attention to that person at all. And so that is probably the person that gets screamed at the most and gets blamed for multiple things. But I think the people lining up the classes, it's a difficult job. And I do think that you have to have a great deal of tact if you're that person. And you have to be able to handle high pressure situations with some grace and some ease. And not everybody fits that bill. And so, like I said, if you want to volunteer, you've got to be strong enough and firm enough to not take a great deal of shit, but you've also got to be able to handle people when you're in that role of lining up classes. So that's a tough one, but I think it's probably the most vital role of them all, because without that person having those classes ready to feed into the ring the next time, as soon as that class is out, show gets delayed, people get upset, things drag on forever. It gets disorganized and chaotic back there. So it's a tough position to be in. And there are some great ones, but probably the most important role, but also the toughest job. The announcer is a role that a lot of people don't think it is hard, but I think it is a very difficult job. And I'll just be honest with you. There's a lot of people that can do a good job announcing. You got to have a good voice. You've got to have a clear voice. You've got to have a loud voice, all this other stuff. Auctioneers make the very best announcers. And for all the obvious reasons, and I'm not saying that there is an auctioneer at every single show, but if you know one and you've got a show coming up, I would bend on that person because they are really good at it. And they have the voice, they have the experience speaking on the mic. And that is one thing that people don't understand. Speaking on a mic, it's every mic, every sound system is different. And if you have done it a lot, then you can adjust yourself to that. But speaking clearly and making sure you're on top of your game, those announcers are a big part of keeping the flow going. Also keeping the atmosphere enjoyable for everybody else, because basically, other than the judge, that announcer is the only person that you're going to hear. And so if they can be funny or humorous, that is also a big help. On announcers, another thing is a lot of times there are multiple, or at least two, or sometimes two announcers, somebody that's doing it there ringside, and also there's a separate sound system in the back for people to listen on who's calling classes. And, class 26, main on Jew heifers, come to the make ready ring, first call. There's that person, or now they have these apps that you can sign up for text messages. And so I don't know how those work. I'll be honest. I haven't run a show that does it, but I've judged 900 of them that do it. But I think that is extremely helpful. And if in that way, if the announcer system in the back of the barns isn't the best, if you've signed up for that app and you've got somebody up there working, class 26 is in the ring. We need 27, 28, 29 to the make ready ring. Then the fault is on them. But it does take one person continually, and that is their entire job, is feeding those texts to that deal that goes out to everybody that signed up for it. But that can be extremely helpful, and a job, as long as you can type and spell quickly, not the most difficult in the world to do. And so I do think that more shows should utilize that, and that's another person that you have to have up there as a volunteer help. Ringmen. I'm going to be real honest. I think that of all the volunteer roles, ringmen are the worst. And I'm just full transparency here. And I don't understand why, but it is not just shows I judge, but shows I watch. There's a lot of people standing out there in that ring, and nobody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I don't get it, and I don't understand it. Every show, regardless of species, you got to have at least 3 people out there. You've got to have somebody that's leading the class around. You've got to have somebody that's tailing the class in case somebody doesn't stop. You need multiple people doing that. And then you've also got to have another person out there that is actually taking down the results. And we'll talk about results takers here again in just a minute too, but taking the results there live in the ring, so then they can go up and give that sheet to the person that's on the announcer stand that's also doing it, so you can double check. But ringman, if you volunteer for this job, I'm just going to tell you right now, you're not a judge. Not that day, at least. You may judge a lot. And I will be real honest with you. Judges are either great ringmen or they're terrible ones. And that's just, there is no in between. The ones that are great ringmen that judge, they understand the importance of that role, and they know how importantly vital it is when they judge, so they do everything in their can to be the best one. The other half is the ones that still think they should be judging, and so they just sit there and evaluate the class and think that they can do it better than the person that actually has the microphone. But in terms of being a ringman, do not worry about who is winning the class or any of this. That just simply make sure that the animals get to where they need to go efficiently, that you are helping them, you are leading them the right way. It is not a real hard job. It's not. The judge tells you in the morning, we're going to lead in here, we're going to stop here, we're going to lead around here, we're going to stop here. I'm going to pull them first to last, top to bottom, whatever way he wants, she wants. And this isn't hard. It is really not hard. Now, it is tiring. It is exhausting. Your feet are going to hurt. But it is not hard. And I do not understand why we do not have better ring people in the world, and I don't understand why we don't have more of them. But we don't. And so I would make an appeal. And, you parents and all the people ringside, y'all are the ones that bitch about them the most. And I get it. And I've been there. They're not helping my kid. Or can you believe they're not doing something? Well, right there, unless your kid is showing, if you think you can do better, then walk up there and volunteer if you've got an hour. Because it is a long, exhausting job that lasts all day. If you've got a free hour and you think that you're so good at it and can do better, why don't you say, hey, you know what? I've got an hour. My kid's done showing. Her got an hour before we start getting that one ready. Let me help you in this ring. How about that? Instead of griping and complaining, let's be proactive and try to help everybody in the situation. But ringmen, we got to be better. We talked about that there needs to be one person in the ring taking results. The other person up on the announcer stand, they're going to take results while it goes down too. But a lot of times it's hard to see when you're on that announcer stand. That's why there's got to be somebody that double checks your work. They bring that up there to you and show the class sheets of how it went down in the ring, so you double check your work. The official results taker, got to have good handwriting. I personally have the handwriting of a serial killer, so I am terrible at taking results. And so I am not a good person. But good handwriting and obviously focus and concentration is something that needs to be there on the people that are taking results. Before we ever get to the ring, at all of these shows, somebody's got to check in papers or take weight cards and all this other stuff. And the one thing that I would say about this is, if you're going to take on the role of checking in papers, registration papers, refresh yourself with the breeds that you know that you're going to have, and get online and look so you know where you need to find the birth date, where you need to find the ownership date on those things, or all the other information that you have to have, so you're not sitting there because every registration paper for every breed is a little bit different. There's not a unified one for every breed. And so you need to just get to be familiar with the ones that you know that you're going to have to show. In terms of taking in weight cards, just double check, make sure that everything's filled out and it's legible, readable, etc. Because again, I am not a person to turn in weight cards because I have terrible handwriting. Nobody believes this, but I was actually spent the week that they taught cursive at the Houston Livestock Show, showing steers and heifers and sheep and pigs. So I missed that whole week. And so I am terrible in terms of handwriting. But when you're checking in those cards, just make sure everything's filled out and that it's legible. So again, not a terribly difficult job, but a very important one. And you want all those people that are standing in line to do that to be happy. So you need kind of a people person in those roles there. Computer work. Somebody's got to enter all this data, all this input, put it all in. And so if you are not A, computer savvy, or B, a great typer, probably not the best position for you to volunteer for. And those volunteers that do computer work, whether it is the Showman app or one of the many different ones, take some time to get to know that program before you haul off into it at the show. Because every program's a little bit different. And so spend 30 minutes an hour figuring out, okay, this is where I put this in, and this is how I click this and do this, and this is how we upload, and this is how we break these, and all this other stuff. So when it is time to actually perform that job, you'll be faster and more efficient. Prize patrol is what I call them, the ribbon people. This is a job that a lot of kids do, and I'm fine with kids doing it. A lot of shows have queens or princesses, all this other stuff. That's fine. Whoever's going to do this, again, this is not a real difficult job, but it is important and it is necessary. The one thing that I am going to say about this, whoever it is, whoever is playing queen for a day and being the prize patrol out there, remember that all of these people are actively showing an animal, and it is real difficult to handle a big trophy, big plaque, big whatever, one of those. I see it every single show. They come up, they give the banner, the animal gets scared, runs off, all this other stuff. I would just say, if it is an award other than a ribbon or something that can easily be put in one hand, say, hey, who would you like for me to give this to? And if they want to take it, then they will. Just say, hey, my mom's standing over there, or my grandpa's right there. But it is to err on the side of caution. Give those awards to somebody that actually doesn't have a live animal in their hands and actively trying to show it, because we don't want anybody to get spooked by their award and have the animal run off and cause a scene, because that's never fun. Doesn't make it fun for anybody. Another big thing, and I think this is probably, other than ringmen, probably the hardest job at a show. You got to have somebody that's in charge of getting sponsors. And people don't know this. It is real hard to ask for money. It is not easy, especially in this economy. You can get turned down way more. Trust me, I do it every day. I get turned down every day asking for money. You're going to get turned down way more than you get told yes. But sponsorships are important at every single show. And you've got to have a set of people that are dedicated just to that right there. That sole endeavor is securing sponsorships at the different level. And those people have to be very, very persuasive, and they have to be very, very good at basically kissing ass. I'm just going to be real honest. And so not everybody is great at those things. And so, but that's a big part, and it is a really hard job. Probably the last one that I'm going to talk about y'all with this week is social media is now a huge part of shows. Not only to get advertising and promotion to get exhibitors there, but as we talked about with the app on the classes, posting on social media what classes are coming up. And I think one of the best things that all shows can do is you don't have to pay somebody to webcast it, but you can get somebody to Facebook Live it standing right there with your phone. And that way, if mom had to stay home and take care of the other animals, or grandma and grandpa can't get there, etc., they can watch it, and you'll get a lot of views. And it is really a big benefit to your show to do those type of things. But also, don't open yourself up to be ripped apart. So if you're going to be the Facebook Live person, make sure that you're in a good location where you can see everybody in the class. Make sure everybody gets on there. Don't have the shaky hand. Don't turn it upside down and sideways and all this other stuff, because I hate it when you're watching this and you know that it's just some volunteer that's doing it so people can watch at home, and they're going, stand still, move this way, all this. I mean, it's a thankless job again, and they're just yelling at you through their keyboard, and I hate that part. So just do the best you can do. But I do think that is a big plus for shows. If their social media is top notch, it's a big deal. And I think it is more important for it is important at every level, but at the national level, those shows that have top notch social media, those kids want to be on that. And so they're more likely to go to those shows so I can say, hey, did you see I got posted on XYZ's Facebook or Instagram or Reel or TikTok and all this other stuff. So it's a big draw, and it's something most that all of us can do, and we can all do better. So I know that there is going to be a lot of volunteer positions that I did not talk about and that I overlooked. Those were the ones that came to my mind. And like I said, I think knowing as an individual that wants to help and wants to volunteer to show, I think knowing your skill set and saying, hey, I want to help you guys out. I think that I'm really good at this, so maybe I would be best utilized here. Because no one is going to turn down a volunteer. I'm just telling you, they're not going to do it. But they're also probably going to put you in the first position that they can think of, unless you say, hey, I think I could be really good at this because I do this exceptionally well. So to help everybody out, know your strengths, know your limitations, and say, I want to help any way I can. I think I'd be best at that. If they say, well, we've got somebody that's doing that, we would like to put you here. If you know that you're a bad fit, like if you're not a good people person, some people aren't, it's fine. And I know I have lots of friends that are terrible persons. Then probably the lining up person, they say, well, why don't you line up classes? Probably say, you know what? I don't think I'd be real good at that. Maybe if you've got anything else, don't go head first into something that you know is going to be a bad situation. Because once again, you're out there volunteering your time. You don't want to be yelled at. You don't want to cause something to go wrong or have people mad at you. But I think it is really, really important. I think if you're the show manager or the staff that decides where these volunteers go, I think it is very important for you to ask them, what would you like to do and what are you good at? So we can best utilize you. And I think very few times at any show is that ever come into play. And I think it's vitally important. But the bottom line of this is, and I want to reiterate this again, these people are not getting paid. They are giving up their time, their effort, their energy to help your child exhibit at a show. They deserve to be respected. They deserve to be thanked. And they deserve more than anything else to be appreciated. And it takes nothing to say thank you. That's all you gotta say is thank you, because they never get it. And it takes less than that. That takes 2 words. I'm sorry, it does. Thank you takes 2 words. It takes absolutely nothing to keep your mouth shut. So if you were unhappy, pissed off, something didn't go your way, don't yell at the volunteer. Just don't. Do not do it, because they don't have to be there. And it is a vital part of our industry, and one that I think is so important, but it is also one that gets drastically used and they get beat up on. And it really makes me angry when that happens. So that is a very short topic for this week. I volunteer as tribute, but again, Dale ditched me for like the 3rd time for his little vacationing. And so that's all I could come up with on short notice. So if you want to send hate mail about the topic, or that this is a short podcast, send it to Dale Hummel at hummellivestock@gmail.com. Question and answer. We would like to thank Clint Leonard and the Leonard family and Leonard Truck and Trailers for being the question and answer sponsor of this podcast this week and for several weeks now. For over 60 years, Leonard Truck and Trailers has been the trusted trailer expert for hauling champions to victory. For journeys that go beyond the ring, Leonard Truck and Trailer offers the largest selection of every type of trailer by 40 manufacturers, including low pro show stock trailers and living quarter stock trailers. Their trailers are designed for excellence and comfort, so you arrive in style while ready for you and your animals to compete. Haul with confidence wherever the road may take you, featuring a nationwide concierge service and a warranty administration. Leonard Truck and Trailers offers industry-leading financing, nationwide delivery, trade-ins are welcome, plus they can create and install custom vinyl graphics for your trailer, and they have a full line of apparel and hats to promote your farm and ranch. Visit Leonard Truck and Trailer online at leonardtrailers.com and tell them you heard about them at On Beyond the Ring podcast. Cannot thank the Leonard family and Leonard Truck and Trailers enough. If you are trailer shopping, please give them a look. They support this industry so much, not just us, but all over. And so great people and a great company. Also, before I get into the question and answers, I have seen on here that Biden has endorsed Kamala Harris to be the Democratic nominee for president. Now, I don't know if that means she's going to be, but he has endorsed her. And since I don't know the exact details, but since all the money that was raised was for the Biden-Harris campaign, I think she's the only one that can get it. And since they were his delegates, he's going to release them, but who he endorses is a big thing. So slow, creepy, bad Joe wants Camel Toe to be the next president of the United States. So there is that. Okay, so question and answer. Question for the podcast. What are the basic requirements for a good show animal? I am on the judging team for my high school, and I want to know basic things I should place an animal on. Thank you for everything you guys do. I love the podcast. Okay. This is a very open-ended question. And to this person that asked this, we have lots of topics on here about animal selection that if you'll just go back, I mean, we're at 200 and something, I don't know, but we've talked about animal selection a lot. But I think the basics in terms of selection is, and priorities are different from judge to judge, but I think kind of the big things is first and foremost structural integrity and build, their feet and leg structure, how sound, comfortable, and flexible they move, how that spine lays in there, everything that supports that animal and gets them to move around the ring effortlessly or not so much. I think structure is always going to be something that is evaluated a great deal. Another thing is muscle. Width, dimension, muscularity, shape, all of those things, for the most part, the more is better. But having more than an ample amount of muscle, because just like I say, we take things to the extremes in this industry. So having them super stout, having them way big ribbed, having them stout in terms of bone and feature, dense in terms of their body, muscle, and just overall dimensions and extreme proportions is something that is always going to be looked at and highly prioritized in the show ring. And I think for most judges, that's probably the biggest priority, is just how stout they are. And I think that the other thing that is given a great deal of consideration, because they are show animals and need to look that way, is balance and symmetry, profile, ring presence, all of those things. If they're really good looking through their head and neck, if they're smooth in terms of the way that they transition throughout their body, if they're sharp in terms of their features, level in terms of their lines, all of those things that make them even as attractive as we can be. A lot of that is skin and hair too, but having that extra look, that extra show ring presence and pizzazz, that is something that is going to weigh in and be a big factor as well. So just in summary, I think the big three are structure, mass, and show ring look. But that is question number 1 for this week. Question 2, how do you deal with jealousy when it comes to either selling high-priced animals or consistently being successful at shows? Do you downplay your achievements and just not market or advertise them? You are so asking the wrong person this question. Dale would probably have a greatly different answer. My answer is hell no, you don't downplay them. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of energy and a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of intelligence to win any show. And so when you win one, I think you should be proud as a peacock, and I think you should put it out there any way you can, because it's hard and wins don't come easy. And if someone is going to be a hater or be jealous of you because you want a show, you're never going to get that person's approval or get that person to buy from you anyway. So screw them. Don't worry about them. Worry about the people that are proud for you, that want you to succeed, that want to buy from a successful company. Those are the people that you want in your circle and on your team. So yeah, the haters and the jealousy, just let it go. Let it roll off your back, because it's always going to be there. You're going to have to get tougher skinned, because if that's what you're worried about, you're probably in the wrong business. So be proud of yourself, be proud of your accomplishments, advertise, promote it, and the people that want to be successful will gravitate to you. Oh my, I didn't. Well, this is interesting. Question for Ryan. Where is the weirdest place someone has said they listen to your podcast? Well, I could answer this a lot of different ways, but probably the most family-friendly answer is I have had several people, and I don't even think people think about this when they say it, but I have had several people say, yeah, I was in the shower and I listened to last week's episode. And I was just like, oh, okay, nice. Yeah, so probably the yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with shower. Yep. We're going to stick with that. Oh, my. Anyway, so this is probably the shortest podcast in recorded history, and I'm okay with that because I have no team support from the Dale Hummel of it all. So y'all send him hate mail. He does not care about you people. He does not. He cares about Tangeria and Portugal and whatever else. So send him lots of hate mail. No, I'm joking. He's on family vacation. I'm sure they're doing lots of things fun, but so for this week, Dale would tell you to be safe, but he's not here. And what I will say is, y'all come back now, you hear?